Right, what have we got here? Cheeky little review of the ThorFire vg15s. Now, there was a vg15, if I remember rightly, and this is the S, so it's the upgraded version. I don't know if you can still get the non-upgraded version. I think you can. It's a little bit, it's like $4 cheaper, but I wouldn't personally get it. You might as well just get the upgraded version. The actual only differences are, this is, I think it's 200 lumens lighter, higher lumens on the high end. You've got one extra mode, which is Firefly, but we'll go through all them and I'll revisit that point. So I've stuck it back in the box there because I know people love an unboxing. So let's get in here and get chopping. So let's have a look. So pretty simple. You get the torch now. I've stuck that back in the box because people love an unboxing, but this is bashed up because I've used it a lot. So as you can see, it's had plenty of use. And we'll discuss features like this heatsink here and the heat later on, but I'm going to go through the basics. So basics, it's the ThorFire vg15s, which is the upgraded version of the old vg15. It's an XML2 LED, which is down there, so you can't really tell that from looking at it, but that's another matter. And it's aluminium and it's a tube design, so the top comes off and the bottom. So you can use different length tubes for CR123 batteries and things like that. It runs on, I shall show you, an 18650 battery. So for this review and for all the testing, I've used a Samsung 30Q. Ignore the rest there, it's an 18650. So if you don't have one, you're going to need one because you don't get one with it. Just for scale, that's a AAA, so substantial difference. Lithium ion, much better batteries, last longer, produce more power. So let's get onto the torch here. So before going into the modes, it's an IPX8. So when I talk about IPX6, 8 and things like that, IPX6 means you can get it splashed and it's not going to cause any particular issues. IPX8 on the other hand means I'm going to use the word waterproof rather than resistant because it is technically waterproof. You could submerge this quickly in water. I wouldn't go any further than 3 meters. Reason being is the further down in water you get, the more pressure you get, and the more pressure you get, the more able it is to force through the seals. So if we look at the seal on this one, it's not particularly big, is it? If you look at the thread in there, it's not very far for the water to go. And then you have a O-ring there, which is rubber. So I don't particularly trust that design, but there you go. I'll compare that later on. Now looking at the actual head here, it's clean enough. It's a little bit grimy, you know, there's tool marks and what have you, but at this price point that's what you're going to get. It's not like where you get an O-light and a monk has put it together, you know, in a clean room with high quality equipment. It's going to be cheap and cheerful, but it's still going to work, and I've never had any problems. And on the top here you have this tactical flashing here. I mean, supposedly, you know, it's supposedly an offensive measure, but I don't consider it an offensive measure, so you could use that like a weapon. I don't particularly see how that would work. It's not particularly giving you any reach. It's not a blade. I don't consider that an offensive weapon. Right, it's clicky type as well, so we'll get the battery back in and we'll go over the other points. Now the other point is you get a clip here. It's not a particularly good one. It's a shallow carry clip. I prefer deep carry, and deep carries go higher, and it means you can get them further in the pocket, because otherwise, let's say that's where the top of your pocket comes to, you're going to have all that sticking out the top. I don't know whether I would want that. And it is reversible, so if you notice it's not a full ring on here, so you can reverse it. So if you take the clip off without flying across the room and put it the other way, there are applications where you could use that. Now on smaller ones, I haven't got one to show you, but on smaller ones when you put a clip on, I would put that on the peak of my cap like that, so where you look. Whether you could do that with this, it's a little bit top heavy for that, but you could try that if you had a really big floppy Texan hat or something. So let's get that back on the right way, and then we'll go through the modes. Now literature wise for the modes, it doesn't really tell you the different lumens, so I'm guesstimating some of them. I know that the lowest mode, which is they call Firefly, some manufacturers would call it Moonlight. The whole point of it is it's so low it allows you to read a map or do something tactically without alerting other people, and it also saves on battery. Gives you incredible battery life. So battery life on this is average. It's no better than any of the others. It's similar to like the BLF A6 and the Convoy S2, even the S2 Plus. Very similar, not quite as good, but the battery life isn't actually stated by the manufacturer if you go on the website. So you're going to get similar to that, so pretty decent, especially on the low lumen levels, especially with the battery that big. Right, so the modes, you've got Firefly. So if I get this turned on, and then I'll go to the modes. So there's Firefly, very low. Now that's half of a lumen. So you're probably thinking, well, that's rubbish, but it's not actually. If you've got a map and you just want to do a little bit of reading, it's perfect. The battery lasts longer and it doesn't destroy your night light. Now, night sight I'm talking about here is if I go out into the dark and someone shines a short torch right in my face, you lose your night vision, and it takes about 20 minutes to get that back. So there are advantages to these low modes, not just power saving. So that's your 0.5, and then you have low. Now I'm going to guesstimate the output here because the manufacturer doesn't tell you. So low. Now I'm guesstimating that's around 100 lumens. About, say 900. Actually, maybe 1100, but it's hard to say. And then you have medium. Now medium is, again, it is a guesstimate, 500 I would say. That's pretty damn bright. You can get anything done with that, no problem. And then you have high, which again, I'm going to guesstimate, that looks to me about 800 lumens. It's hard to tell on this because we've got HDR on, but I would guesstimate that at 800 lumens. And then you have a turbo, which goes to its maximum. Now, some websites will say 1000, whereas sometimes the manufacturer will say 1070 lumens, which is a bit strange. I think that's just for tolerances, so we'll just, for sake of ease, we'll call that 1000 lumens. Okay, so to move modes, once it's on, so on, off, and then you use the classic half click. So once it's on, if you go half a click, you go through the modes. Half a click, half, turbo, moonlight, low, medium, high, turbo. Now there is one other hidden mode, which is a strobe, and I know a lot of manufacturers call it tactical strobe. You could actually argue that it's tactical strobe because in order for a strobe to be tactical, you have to be able to use it instantaneously. If like something like the BLF A6, you know, where you've got to go through a million different settings and then go through twice and then hold this down and then hold that down, go through twice again, and then right now you can have strobe. To me, that you wouldn't be able to use that. So if someone's going to attack you, it'll be quicker to do that. So all I've done is double tapped, and then you get a strobe. It's a bit of a strange strobe. It seems to be, from the heat levels anyway, I can guesstimate that that's probably at about 1000 lumens. But it's a very slow strobe, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Most of the strobes are about double to triple that speed, which is strange, but anyway, it's still a strobe. So you could tactically double tap and point at an attacker. You know, whether that's going to have much of an effect, I don't know. But it can certainly help. So yes, I would consider that a tactical strobe in that you can get to it straight away. So turn that off because it's annoying my eyes. Right, so I've already discussed its aluminium IPX8. I really like this, and I can consider this my EDC, which stands for everyday carry. Now, the reason for that is it's cheap, so I don't care if it gets lost. I'd rather it didn't, but I don't care. The clip's just good enough, and the battery life's fine. So it's my everyday carry unless I'm doing something specific. I use this all the time, so I have no complaints. I would prefer it if they got rid of this daft heatsink thing. And I mean, I'll explain why they put things like heatsink on. If I grab a pen. Okay. For those who don't know, we'll go over it. So, let's say you've got your torch here, and then you've got heat radiating out. It can only do so at a certain limit, and then it comes to the air and then it radiates. That's how a radiator works anyway. So you've got the heat being produced here. Now if you want to increase surface area, which also increases the amount of heat you're able to get rid of, how are you going to add more surface area? Well, the only way to do it is to corrugate it. So you have the surface like that. So what you're doing is, in that amount of space, instead of having a flat surface, you're having a lot more surface area in one area, and you're able to radiate more heat. So this isn't just a design choice as in, oh, we'll just stick some fins on. It's actually there to help get rid of more heat. Does it work? Well, it may do, but I think you could probably get rid of more heat by using a more efficient setup and, you know, cleaner internals. But that's just how they've chosen to do that. It seems to be the ThorFire methodology. The ThorFire also make, I've got one, they also make the BLF Q8, which is a massive thing. Now you can see, look, again, they've gone for this heatsink fin. I don't mind it on this because it doesn't matter, but it's a bit in your way, you know, on the bigger one there. So let's do some size comparisons. So there's your ThorFire. Now there's the small Astrolux, which I really like. It only gives you about 120 lumens, 100, 120, but it's nice just for a keychain. So that's small there. You also have the, which I would consider its rival, BLF Special Edition A6, so we'll put them together. And also the Convoy S2 is similar. Now the Convoy S2 is going to be a very similar size. Yeah, they're almost identical in size. There are going to be differences. You can notice on the reflector there. In fact, we'll discuss the reflector. This is what's called an orange peel reflector. So if I go over that, just for people who don't know, I think it's worth mentioning so people know what they're buying. So on a standard reflector, your torch works like this, and then you have the LED, and then light's produced in this direction. Now normally what happens is you're going to get your spot, which is the main body of your light, and then you're going to get throw, which is the superfluous light to the side. Now, so normally the light bounces around and goes pretty much like that. So on an orange peel reflector, you have a more bumpy, unnatural, less polished surface. So light is able to do a lot more, and you get more of a smooth spread. So instead of having, when you shine a torch at the wall, instead of having your spot and then your spread like that and they're clearly defined, you get more of a, it's more of a smooth dithering. So yes, you've got your spot, but it also goes out into this pattern, and it's smoother on the eye and it looks less silly. I prefer, me personally, if I was going to get a torch, I would always get one with an orange peel reflector because the light's able to spread and spread more naturally. So back to the comparisons. There's your ThorFire, there's the BLF and the S2 Plus, that is. There's the smaller ThorFire, which is just a AAA, so we'll put that down there with the other AAA. I don't know why it's so long compared to the other AAAs, but you know, that's how they've chosen to do it. There's the Through Night TN40, I think, TN4A, which is obviously in a bigger league there. These are all in the same league. Like, they're all around 1,000 lumens as well, and then for the smaller ones you can have the Astrolux. I think that's the K1, if I remember rightly. Yep, K1, and then the Nightcore tube, which is tiny there. So that's going to give you basic light, you know, if you have to. And then you've got the K1, which I really like. I really like the K1. And then the A01, and then the ThorFire. So these are the competitors. So let's compare them, because I think that they're all in the same sort of product segment, really. So ThorFire, for me, ThorFire clip's not so good. It's not as good as the BLF. See, the BLF's a deep carry, so that can go right down your pocket. That's got the best clip. That hasn't even got one. Didn't come with one. I presume you can get one, but they never sent me one. So that one hasn't got one at all. Parts. This feels cheap, and it is. These don't feel cheap, but they still are relatively cheap compared to something like an Olight and what have you. So yes, it's cheaper, but if I was you, I'd probably just go for the BLF A6 or the Convoy S2 Plus. So if you want to save $4, get that. If you're not bothered, get either of them and you'd be more than happy. Obviously this one has the clip. This has the orange peel reflector. It's got the little tactical whacking bit on, fins for extra heat dissipation, plenty modes. It's got more modes than you need. It's about on par with this. I mean, you have less modes on a standard mode with this, but you can go into a more complicated mode. But let's give this a mark out of 10. And just for size comparison, if you don't own any of these, there's a AAA battery, so you can see exactly how big it is. Do you know what? As I said, I use this daily. I like it. It's cheap. I don't care if it gets lost. Easy to replace. It's never let me down. Clicks are fine. It's had a right bash, as you can see, multiple times. Never failed me. Glass is nice. Reflector's quite reflective in comparison to more of an orange peel look. You can see it looks more pitted on the BLF, but I'm going to give this an honourable 8. I think it deserves it. Give it an 8. I'm guessing at some point this will fail me because it feels cheap, sounds cheap. It's just one of those things, but I like it. For the money, you can't go wrong. Well done, ThorFire. Now, if you want to know, and we did discuss this earlier, but if you want to know the difference between the vg15s and the standard just will only go up to 800 lumens, whereas this one will go up to 1000, or as the manufacturer suggests, 1070. I don't know if that's true or not. And it has one extra mode, and the extra mode is the Firefly. Now, I find Firefly quite useful. I sometimes use it on the TN4A, which I must get around to reviewing at some point. The same with the small ThorFire, but I will get around to that. So 8 out of 10. So enough of me waffling on. It's time to go outside and let's have a shot.